I do think it'll be fully briefed in front of the judge by mid-November. Federal judges work at their own pace. And I think it's very hard to predict. Maybe optimistically, you're talking about a few 3 to 4 months. Pessimistically, you're talking longer than that. I generally have tried to guide when people ask internally at Ripple. I kind of say, look, I think we'll have an answer the first half of next year. Whether that's the first quarter or second quarter, we shall see. The thing to understand is today, when the SEC sued Ripple, basically every exchange in the United States either halted trading of XRP or delisted XRP. So for all intents and purposes, XRP does not have liquidity in the United States. Ripple as a company, we have grown gangbusters over the last 2 years, but we've signed hundreds of new contracts with financial institutions globally, and very, very few here in the United States, because in the United States, most financial institutions will say, hey, let's wait and see what happens here. So when people ask me what happens if we lose, I'm already operating as if I lost, right? The XRP doesn't trade in the United States. It can't get worse, right? So, look, it is kind of funny. It's also what the problem is with, having a regulator who, in this case, they're kind of being a bully. And they're the reason why they're able to get a lot of settlements is because people don't have the financial resources, the commitment to really fight it. And, would we be in a better position now had we tried, been more flexible in settling way back when? Maybe, but the whole industry would be in a worse place.
I think two things are happening, and you can't deny they're happening. One is institutions across the board are putting big resources into building for the next crypto spring. That's guys like Citadel and their exchange. It's people like BlackRock with Aladdin. It's hedge funds. It's Citibanks and Goldman Sachs getting ready for a tokenization revolution that's coming, I don't know, in 2 years, in 3 years, 4 years, whenever. And so there's almost a sense of inevitability that this is going to be a big industry. It's a shocking difference than last crypto winter. That said, buying the coins right now, there's just less enthusiasm until the macro changes. I do think Congress has done a good job of getting educated. I was just down in D.C. for 3 days and met with, 14 different congressmen and senators, and was pleasantly surprised at how up to speed they were. I got my fingers crossed that the ag bill gets put into committee and potentially voted on in the lame duck session. That would be a great first step in starting some crypto regulation. My fear is nothing happens until post-election, and then you're going to, then we'll see what happens. Maybe depending on how the election goes, the cards change. We do need some regulation to get things moving.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have Brad Garlinghouse already focused on the fourth industrial revolution. He's not worried about America. He knows that the emerging markets are about to rise, and that's where Ripple is embedded. And when you're talking about cross-border payments, they're more beneficial overseas, not in America. Now we have Mike Novogratz says that the crypto winter is going to last longer than what people think. And we know for a fact the Fed is not going to pivot. Inflation is coming in still hot, and that's exactly what the Fed wants, so they can keep the foot on the gas so they can destroy this legacy market. You're not going to get Mike Novogratz to say that. He's not going to talk about the fourth industrial revolution. He's not going to talk about the robots, algorithms, and drones that are going to take over this economy. And we know Mike Novogratz is heavily invested in the fourth industrial revolution. And what does he say about the institutions? The institutions are ready to build. And guys, we know that's all centered around Freemasonry. We know that's the reason why Biden passed the Build Back Better bill, just changed the name to Inflation Reduction Act, because it is time to build. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Talk to us about prices here. How much, what would happen to Bitcoin if we did in fact get that Fed pivot?
Listen, I think once the Fed pivots, you're going to see assets in general rally, right? You've had a tremendous sell-off across the board based on Chairman Powell being really hawkish in the Fed, and rightfully so, right? People always ask me, well, Bitcoin didn't work as an inflation hedge. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? It went from 10,000 to 70,000 when the Fed was producing inflation. Since the Fed has decided to try to smash inflation by raising rates aggressively, the most aggressive, rate raising in our lifetime, Bitcoin sold off with other assets. It's actually done better than most. And I think if you finally get the pause, you'll start seeing Bitcoin, pick back up. Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies. Listen, are we going to get the pause? At one point, yes. We priced in a lot, but, the inflation data is still lagging and hot. And the employment data we just got was pretty darn strong. And so this normally works. You'll have to see the ISM or the manufacturing data plunge first, go from 50 to 48 to 40. What will follow that will be earnings, inflation, and employment, which is a lagging indicator. And so, the bear case is we've got 2 to 6 months left of this pain. The bull case is, the market starts breaking, and we're seeing a lot of breakage, not in necessarily crypto, but in the rest of the world. I mean, crypto is interesting in that, 3 months ago, after the big sell-off and the deleveraging, most people that needed to sell sold. And so you've seen prices much more muted. Things take off when there's a good story, and they sell right back off when the story goes away. And so a lot less activity in crypto, a lot less for sellers, but also a lot less new buyers.
That liquidating any of that in order to just shore up the coffers of cash in order to make sure that your businesses can also navigate?
Listen, we luckily sold over $1 billion of stuff last year at better prices, and certainly don't want to get into the business of burning the furniture to run the business. And so we're going to try to manage our business towards what we think are rational revenue targets. Listen, revenue is coming down in the industry. The volumes are down. Excitement is down. And this winter could last longer than people think. It might be shorter. It's hard to predict when these crypto winners, how long they go. We're a couple years from a halving cycle. I do think the Fed flinching creates some enthusiasm around Bitcoin as a store of value, Bitcoin as a recession, as an inflation hedge, as a hard money when the rest of the world keeps printing money. But we're going to manage our business to what we think is a rational revenue stream for our 5 operating businesses, is try to keep the balance sheet separate. Macro environment for any investor. And if you had all the foresight of the sages, you would have just been in US dollar cash all year long, right? When the whole world was saying cash is trash, was time to just go long, 1 week T-bills and wait, or go short markets. We're in a mess globally, right? Japan has got a monster imbalance intervening in the currency market while supporting an interest rate market as inflation slowly creeps higher. That is a potential real problem. You saw what happened in the UK, and they're trying to get this genie back in the box. But once confidence breaks down, it's really hard to get it back. And so what the Fed is doing is trying to preserve confidence in the US system. Now, what they need, and we'll see if you get it, is a Congress that is willing to take some pain. Politicians are not normally coded to take pain, right? So you already see in France, hey, we're going to do $100 billion subsidy because energy prices are too high, and hence that's driving inflation. So we're going to give more money to the system. Like, that's counterintuitive. I understand where it comes from. People are suffering. But as you use printed dollars, or printed euros in this case, it creates this inflation cycle. And so it's a really treacherous market. Could the S&P, what's at 3,600 today, could it end the year at 3,300, 3,000, 3,300? Kind of looks like where the chart would go. What's hard about these environments is they don't get there in a straight line, right? There is a tremendous amount of fear in the market right now. And so like on Monday, we already saw a 6% rally and it got reversed. It doesn't feel to me that the stock market low is in, that we're going to have more pain before we see clear sailing. And, you know, there is a chance that even when the Fed thinks it's finished, they pause. And if the federal government doesn't tighten its belt and starts feeling this populism surge, you know, the cycle picks up again. And so I would say for now, until the next, you know, until further notice, at least 12 months, these are going to be really complicated markets to trade and complicated markets to make money in. And in some ways, just preserving your wealth is a huge win, right? Not actually having monster gains, but not losing money could be a huge win.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.